"The crews will be wary of you at first," she told them. "They'll watch how you eat, how you exercise, how you react to stress. They'll be fascinated and frightened by your human traits, but show them that your strange abilities can help protect the ship, and they'll accept you." "Did your crew accept you right away?" asked a young human officer named Alan. "Not at all." Elisa smiled. "But now I couldn't imagine being anywhere else." As the new officers departed to their ships, Captain Zorlak approached Elisa. "Your kind is changing the Alliance," he said. "For the better, I hope," she replied. "Definitely for the better," he agreed, "though still terrifying." Elisa laughed. "We humans have a saying. The things that make us different are the things that make us strong." Zorlak nodded thoughtfully. "When we first met, I saw only the danger in your differences. Now I see the strength." Together, they watched as the ships departed from the station, each carrying a human crew member. The universe was vast and full of unknown dangers, but with humans aboard, Alliance ships were better prepared than ever to face whatever waited among the stars. 1 year had passed since Elisa Martinez first stepped aboard the Celestial Voyager *. The ship docked at Galactic Alliance headquarters for an important ceremony. Captain Zorlak stood on the bridge, watching his crew prepare for the official visitors. "You seem nervous, Captain," said Elisa, now comfortable enough with Zorlak to speak informally. "Not nervous," he replied. Reflective. "Much has changed in a year." The main screen showed other ships arriving at the station. Each one carried at least one human crew member, a sight that had become common in recent months. "Captain," called Communications Officer Vril, "Admiral Cora is ready to beam aboard." The ship's senior officers gathered in the main hall as Admiral Cora and several Alliance officials arrived. The Admiral was a tall Salaxian with silver skin that shimmered under the lights. "Captain Zorlak," said the Admiral, "congratulations. The Celestial Voyager has been selected to announce the new Alliance protocol." Zorlak nodded. "We're honored, Admiral." Admiral Cora turned to Elisa. "And First Officer Martinez, your service record this past year has been exemplary." "Thank you, Admiral," Elisa replied. The ceremony began with representatives from 20 different species in attendance. Admiral Cora stepped forward to address them. "Today, the Galactic Alliance announces a new standard protocol for all deep space vessels," she said. "Based on comprehensive data and numerous success stories, all Alliance starships will now be required to have at least one human crew member." A murmur went through the crowd. Some nodded in agreement while others looked less certain. "To explain the reasoning behind this decision," continued the Admiral, "I invite Captain Zorlak to speak. His ship was among the first to test this protocol." Zorlak stepped to the podium. He looked across the faces watching him. "1 year ago," he began, "I was ordered to accept a human officer aboard my ship. I was not pleased." This brought a few knowing laughs from the crowd. "Like many of you, I believed humans were too unpredictable, too aggressive, too terrifying to work alongside peacefully." He gestured to Elisa. "First Officer Martinez has saved my ship and crew multiple times in the past year. When our systems were sabotaged, she found the problem that our security team missed. When we were attacked by hostile forces, she created weapons from our garbage disposal unit." The crowd chuckled, but listened intently as Zorlak continued. "When a virus infected my crew, her unique biology provided the cure. When a spatial anomaly incapacitated everyone else, she piloted the ship alone for 3 days without sleep. When pirates boarded us, she fought with a determination that was both frightening and awe-inspiring." Zorlak paused, looking directly at the captains in the audience. "Yes, humans are terrifying. They evolved on a planet that tried to kill them daily. They can survive conditions that would kill most of us. They can fight through pain, stay awake for days, adapt to almost any situation, and improvise solutions we would never consider. But these same qualities make them essential crew members, especially in deep space where help is not available." After the ceremony, captains gathered around Zorlak, asking questions about working with humans. Elisa watched from a distance, smiling slightly. "Quite a change from a year ago," said Admiral Cora, joining her. "Captain Zorlak once filed a formal complaint about having you assigned to his ship." "Really?" Elisa laughed. "He never told me that. Now he's our biggest advocate for human integration. Your success has paved the way for other humans in the fleet." Across the room, 5 new human officers waited nervously. They would be assigned to different ships as part of the new protocol. "They look scared," Elisa observed. "They should be," replied the Admiral. "They have big responsibilities ahead. Each will face the same suspicion you did." "They'll be fine," said Elisa. "We humans are good at adapting." Later, as the new human officers prepared to meet their captains, Elisa spoke to them briefly. "Welcome," said the Creveri leader, Chief Frax. "Before we discuss treaties, we must know if your alliance is worthy. Will the human accept our challenge of worth?" "I accept," said Elisa, stepping forward. Chief Frax nodded. "Good. The challenge has 3 parts: endurance of body, clarity of mind, and control of spirit. You will begin immediately." For the first test, Elisa had to cross a vast desert canyon carrying a heavy pack. The heat was intense, and the rocky terrain treacherous. Other species would have required special equipment, but Elisa's human adaptability allowed her to adjust to the conditions. She paced herself, conserved water, and completed the crossing. The second test involved solving complex puzzles while exposed to disorienting sounds and lights. Elisa's human brain, with its unique pattern recognition abilities, allowed her to focus despite the distractions. For the final test, Elisa had to demonstrate controlled aggression, fighting robotic opponents without giving in to rage or fear. Her human capability for measured violence served her well. When all 3 tests were complete, Elisa stood before the Creveri Council, exhausted but unbowed. "The human has shown worthiness," announced Chief Frax. "Her species combines strength with restraint, endurance with intelligence. We will negotiate with your alliance." Later, as the successful treaty signing concluded, Ambassador Drulx approached Elisa. "This is why humans are becoming essential to alliance diplomacy," the ambassador said. "Your species' unique qualities open doors that would remain closed to others." "You knew the Creveri would test me like this," said Elisa. "That's why you requested me." "Yes," admitted Drulx. "Humans are the only alliance species that could have passed their challenge. The same qualities that make your kind frightening also make you invaluable. This is something the Alliance has recognized for some time now." As they prepared to return to the ship, Chief Frax asked Elisa one final question. "Are all humans like you?" Elisa smiled. "In some ways, yes. In others, we're all different. But we all come from Earth, a world that shaped us to survive almost anything." The Creveri leader nodded with new respect. "Then your alliance is stronger than we imagined." 6 months after Elisa joined the Celestial Voyager *, the ship received special orders from Galactic Alliance headquarters. A high-ranking ambassador named Drulx would be coming aboard for a critical diplomatic mission. "This is unusual," Captain Zorlak told his senior officers. "Ambassador Drulx specifically requested our ship for this mission." "Why us?" asked Pelax, who had fully recovered from his injuries. "The message doesn't say," replied Zorlak, "but it does mention one strange requirement. Ambassador Drulx has asked that First Officer Martinez lead the diplomatic team." All eyes turned to Elisa, who looked surprised. "Me? I'm not a diplomat." "Nevertheless, that is the request," said Zorlak. "We will rendezvous with the ambassador's shuttle tomorrow." When Ambassador Drulx came aboard, the crew was shocked. Drulx was a Zentari, a species known for their imposing size and intimidating appearance. Nearly 8 feet tall with scaled skin and 6 arms, the ambassador towered over everyone in the docking bay. "Captain Zorlak," Drulx said in a deep voice, "thank you for accommodating my request, and this must be Officer Martinez." The ambassador's 6 eyes focused on Elisa. "Yes, Ambassador," she replied with a small bow. Excellent, said Drelx. We have much to discuss before we reach the Crivari homeworld. In the conference room, Ambassador Drelx explained the mission. The Crivari are a newly discovered species with valuable resources and territory. Many factions want to establish relations with them, including some with hostile intentions. The Alliance needs this treaty to succeed. Why did you request me specifically? Asked Elisa. Drelx's mouth formed what might have been a smile. Because the Crivari respect strength and endurance above all else. They believe a species' worth is measured by what they can survive. And they have heard stories about humans. What kind of stories? Asked Zorlak. Tales of human resilience, adaptability, and determination. Stories about a human officer who saved her ship multiple times through sheer will and physical endurance. Drelx looked at Elisa. Your reputation has spread, Officer Martinez. Elisa looked uncomfortable. I was just doing my job. That modesty is also very human, said Drelx. The Crivari will test you. They believe treaties should only be made with worthy species. 3 days later, the Celestial Voyager arrived at the Crivari homeworld. The planet was mostly desert with extreme temperature variations between day and night. The Crivari have invited our diplomatic team to their capital city, said Ambassador Drelx. They have requested that Officer Martinez participate in their traditional challenge of worth before negotiations begin. What does this challenge involve? Asked Zorlak, looking concerned. They haven't specified, replied Drelx. But it will likely test physical and mental limits. It could be dangerous, Zorlak said to Elisa. You don't have to do this. If it helps secure the treaty, I'll do it, she replied firmly. The next day, Elisa and the diplomatic team beamed down to the Crivari capital. They were greeted by tall, muscular beings with thick gray skin and 4 eyes arranged vertically on their faces. When she reached the panel, her hands were shaking from the heat, but she managed to input the shutdown code. The coolant valves closed, and the alarms began to quiet. As she turned to leave, Elisa heard a crash. Part of the ceiling had collapsed, trapping someone under debris. Through the clearing steam, she saw it was Pilax, who must have followed her. Without hesitation, Elisa ran to him. His skin was turning a sickly yellow from the heat exposure, a dangerous sign for Guldari. She lifted the metal beam, pinning him down, something that would normally require 2 crew members, and dragged him toward the exit. By the time emergency medical staff arrived, Elisa had carried Pilax all the way to the corridor. Her protective suit was partially melted, and her arms were covered in burns. You saved him, said Dr. Jala as she treated Elisa's burns. Pilax would have died in there. He's crew, Elisa said simply. That's what matters. Later that day, Captain Zorlak called Elisa to his ready room. To her surprise, Pilax was there too, his injuries bandaged. Officer Martinez, said Zorlak, I've been informed of a movement among some crew members to have you removed from this ship. Elisa nodded. Yes, Captain. Officer Pilax was leading this movement, continued Zorlak. He has something to say. Pilax looked uncomfortable but met her eyes. I was wrong about you. Today you saved my life at risk to your own. I feared your human traits made you dangerous, but I see now they also make you valuable. I withdraw my objection to your presence on this ship. As do I, added Zorlak. The ship would have been lost multiple times without you, Officer Martinez. Your place here is secure. That night, as Elisa ate dinner in the mess hall, crew members who had avoided her for days came to sit at her table. Slowly, tentatively, the barriers began to fall. 3 weeks after the pirate attack, a strange mood spread through the Celestial Voyager *. Elisa noticed crew members whispering when she entered rooms. Conversations stopped suddenly. Even those who had become friendly now avoided her eyes. Did I do something wrong? She asked Dr. Jala during her injury checkup. The doctor hesitated. Not exactly, but your actions during the pirate attack frightened some crew members. The way you fought, it was intense, Some are saying humans are too dangerous to have aboard. Elisa frowned. I was protecting the ship. I know that, said Jala, but not everyone sees it that way. That evening, Elisa was working late in the science lab when the door opened. Officer Pilax entered with Navigator Kip and 2 engineering crew members she didn't know well. Officer Martinez, Pilax said stiffly. We need to talk. Elisa put down her datapad. What's this about? We believe your presence on this ship puts the crew at risk, said Pilax. We've seen how humans react in crisis situations. You're unpredictable, violent, and frighteningly resilient. Those qualities have saved this ship multiple times, Elisa replied calmly. This time, said Kip. But what happens when you decide the captain's orders aren't good enough? What happens when your human aggression turns against us? Elisa stood up slowly. I would never harm this crew. I'm an Alliance officer, just like you. Not like us, said one of the engineers. Your species evolved as predators. It's in your nature to fight and kill. That's not fair, Elisa said. You're judging all humans based on old stereotypes. We're judging based on what we've seen, Pilax replied. The captain may have accepted you, but many crew members want you transferred off the ship at the next station. After they left, Elisa sat alone in the lab, hurt and confused. She had risked her life for this crew multiple times. Now they wanted her gone. The next day, a critical engine malfunction occurred during the ship's morning shift. Warning alarms blared as the main propulsion system began to overheat. Coolant leak in Engine Room 2, reported Chief Engineer Mox over the communication system. We need to seal it off before the reactor overheats. Captain Zorlak ordered an emergency team to the engine room. Elisa joined them, grabbing protective gear as they rushed to the scene. When they arrived, thick steam filled the chamber. The temperature was dangerously high. The manual override is on the far wall, shouted Mox over the noise of escaping coolant. Someone needs to reach it and shut down the coolant valves. The team looked at the scalding steam blocking the path. Their protective suits would only provide limited protection in such extreme heat. I'll go, said Elisa, already moving forward. Wait, called one of the engineers, the same one who had confronted her the night before. It's too dangerous. But Elisa had already entered the steam cloud. She moved carefully toward the control panel, the heat penetrating her suit and burning her skin. Step by step, she pushed forward, her human determination driving her through the pain. Elisa winced at the sound but remained standing. She noticed the pirates wore protective ear coverings. 3 of her team were still functioning, all from species with less sensitive hearing. Fall back and regroup, she ordered the remaining officers. They retreated around a corner. Our weapons aren't working, said Officer Lyra, a Moraxian. The sound device is disrupting the energy cells. Elisa thought quickly. We need physical weapons. She looked around and spotted a maintenance panel. She pried it open and pulled out metal tools, wrenches, pipes, and cutting tools. Take these, she said, distributing the makeshift weapons. We need to disable their sound devices first. The small team moved quietly through service tunnels to outflank the pirates. When they emerged behind the intruders, Elisa led the charge. She moved with surprising speed and struck the first pirate before he could turn around, knocking the sound device from his hands. The battle was chaotic and physical. Elisa fought with a metal pipe, striking with precision and strength that surprised both her team and the pirates. She took several hits but kept fighting despite bleeding from a cut on her face. Aim for their technology, she shouted to her team as she smashed another sound device. As the painful noise diminished, more of the ship's security forces recovered and joined the fight. The pirates, unprepared for physical combat, began to retreat. One pirate aimed a blaster at Officer Lyra. Without hesitation, Elisa threw herself forward, pushing Lyra aside. The blast grazed Elisa's shoulder, burning through her uniform. She grimaced in pain, but grabbed the pirate's arm and twisted until he dropped the weapon. Within 20 minutes, the boarding party on Deck 3 was captured. Similar news came from Deck 4, where Morav's team had also prevailed. In sick bay later, Dr. Jala treated Elisa's injuries. "You fought while injured," she said, examining the burn on Elisa's shoulder. "Didn't it hurt?" "Of course it hurt," said Elisa, "but humans can push through pain when necessary." Captain Zorlak entered sick bay and approached Elisa's bed. "Officer Martinez, your actions today were remarkable. The security footage shows your combat abilities were quite effective." "Just basic training, Captain," Elisa replied. "All Alliance officers learn hand-to-hand combat." "Perhaps," said Zorlak, "but my security chief tells me your pain tolerance and fighting instincts are unusual. The crew is calling you a warrior." Elisa smiled slightly. "On Earth, I was just a normal person. Here, I'm apparently terrifying." "Today," said Zorlak quietly, "terrifying was exactly what we needed." After recovering from the spatial anomaly incident, the Celestial Voyager continued its mission. The crew's attitude toward Elisa had changed dramatically. They no longer avoided her in the corridors or watched her with suspicion. Instead, many sought her advice or simply wanted to hear stories about Earth. The ship was transporting an important Galactic Alliance diplomat to peace talks with a newly discovered civilization. Security was tight, and Captain Zorlak had ordered extra drills to prepare for any situation. "All senior officers, report to the bridge." Zorlak's voice came over the communication system one morning. When Elisa arrived, the captain looked concerned. "We've detected 3 unidentified vessels approaching fast. They're not responding to hails." On the main screen, 3 sleek black ships moved toward them in attack formation. "Pirates," said Security Chief Morov. "I recognize the formation. They're from the Krell sector." "Red alert. All hands to battle stations," ordered Zorlak. "Shields up." The pirate ships opened fire without warning. The Celestial Voyager shook his energy blasts at the shields. "Shields holding at 80%, reported Pilax. Returning fire. The ship's weapons struck one of the pirate vessels, damaging its engines, but the other 2 continued their attack, focusing their fire on one section of the shields. "They're targeting our shield generators," said Morov. "They know exactly where to hit us." Another blast rocked the ship harder than before. "Shields at 40%, called Pilax. They're using some kind of shield-disrupting weapon." Suddenly, the firing stopped. A message came through on the communication system. "Galactic Alliance vessel," said a rough voice. "We know you carry the diplomat. Surrender now, and we may let your crew live." Zorlak signaled to cut the transmission. "They want the diplomat. Prepare for boarding. All security teams to defensive positions." Elisa checked her weapon. "Captain, these pirates seem well informed about our mission and our ship's layout." "I agree," said Zorlak grimly. "We may have a security breach." A final blast disabled the ship's shields completely. Warning alarms sounded throughout the vessel as the pirates attached boarding tubes to the hull. "They're cutting through on decks 3 and 4, reported Morov. "I'll take a team to deck 3, said Elisa. "Morov, you handle deck 4. Zorlak nodded his approval, and Elisa rushed to the armory with 6 security officers. They reached deck 3 just as the pirates broke through. The boarders carried devices that emitted a high-pitched sound. Most of the Velderi and Trillfolk security officers dropped their weapons and fell to their knees, their sensitive hearing overwhelmed by the painful noise. 2 months after the virus incident, the Celestial Voyager traveled through a rarely explored region of space. The relationship between the crew and First Officer Elisa Martinez had improved. Some crew members even sought her company during mealtimes, curious about human customs and stories. "We're detecting unusual energy readings ahead," Navigator Kip reported from her station. Captain Zorlak moved closer to the main screen. "Can you identify the source?" "It appears to be a spatial anomaly," said Science Officer Drell. "Unlike anything in our records." On the view screen, a swirling mass of purple and blue energy appeared. It looked like a small storm in space. "Keep a safe distance," ordered Zorlak. Begin standard scanning procedures. As the ship scanned the anomaly, a sudden pulse of energy shot out and hit the asterisk Celestial Voyager asterisk. The lights flickered, and several crew members cried out in pain. "What's happening?" Zorlak demanded, feeling a strange pressure in his head. Around him, crew members dropped to their knees, holding their heads. Pelax's skin turned pale yellow as he collapsed at his station. "My mind can't think clearly," gasped Morov, the security chief. Elisa looked around in alarm. She felt a mild headache, but nothing like what the others experienced. "Captain, are you all right?" she asked, moving to Zorlak's side. "My brain feels wrong," he said slowly, his words slurring. "Everything's blurry." Elisa checked the ship's sensors. The anomaly is emitting some kind of wave that affects neural pathways. It seems to be targeting specific brain structures. She looked around, but it's affecting everyone differently. Within minutes, most of the crew was incapacitated. The Veldari suffered the worst, unable to form coherent thoughts. The Moraxians became extremely emotional and confused. The Trillfolk fell into a sleep-like state. Elisa realized she was one of the few still functioning properly. Her headache was uncomfortable but manageable. "Bridge to engineering," she called through the communication system. "Status report." Chief Engineer Mox's voice came back weak. "Half my team is unconscious. The others can't focus enough to work." "Are you not affected?" "I am, but less severely," Elisa replied. "Human brains must be structured differently enough to resist whatever this is." She checked the ship's position. The anomaly was pulling them in slowly. Within hours, they would be trapped inside it. "I need to get us out of here," she muttered. Elisa took the captain's chair and began working the controls. She had basic training on all ship systems, but had never piloted a vessel this size alone. The headache pounded behind her eyes as she tried to reverse course. "Engine control isn't responding properly," she said to herself. "I need to reroute power manually." For the next hour, Elisa ran between the bridge and engineering deck, redirecting systems and keeping the ship from drifting deeper into the anomaly. Her head hurt worse with each passing minute, but she pushed through the pain. In engineering, she found Mox struggling to stay conscious. "You need to rest," he told her weakly. "Not yet," she replied, rerouting power through secondary systems. "I can sleep when everyone's safe." Hours passed as Elisa worked tirelessly. She hadn't slept in over 20 hours, but kept moving, kept thinking. She drank water from the emergency supplies and ate energy rations to keep going. By the third day, her hands shook from exhaustion. The ship had moved only halfway out of the anomaly's pull. Elisa's vision blurred, but she refused to stop. "Just a little more," she whispered hoarsely, her voice raw from giving commands to the ship's computer. Finally, after 72 hours without sleep, Elisa managed to break the ship free from the anomaly's pull. As they moved away, the effects on the crew gradually lessened. Captain Zorlak was among the first to recover. He found Elisa slumped in the navigator's chair, barely conscious but still monitoring the ship's course. "Officer Martinez," he said softly, "you can rest now." "Had to get everyone out," she mumbled. "Humans can go without sleep when necessary." As medical staff carried Elisa to sick bay, Zorlak watched with new understanding. In his personal log that night, he wrote, "The human brain's resistance to the anomaly saved us all. Their ability to function under extreme stress and sleep deprivation is not just impressive. It's essential for survival in unknown space." The same neurological differences that make humans unpredictable also make them uniquely suited for crisis situations. Perhaps this is why the Alliance values them so highly. The Celestial Voyager docked at Space Station Gamma 7 for supplies and minor repairs after the Centauri attack. Elisa's quick thinking had saved the ship, but Captain Zorlak still kept his distance from her. The crew, however, began to look at her with a new mixture of respect and unease. "We need medical supplies. food rations, and engine parts. Zorlak told his officers in the meeting room. We'll be here for 48 hours. Standard shore leave rotations apply. As the meeting ended, Officer Pilax approached Elisa. That was impressive work with the waste disposal system, he said stiffly. Thank you, Elisa replied with a small smile. Sometimes the simplest solutions work best. Is it true that humans learn to make weapons from everyday objects as children? Elisa laughed. Not exactly. We're just taught to be resourceful. After loading supplies, the ship departed from the station. 3 days later, Chief Medical Officer Jala noticed something strange. Captain, 4 crew members have reported to sickbay with the same symptoms, she said on the bridge. High fever, green spots on their skin, and breathing problems. Zorlak frowned. Is it contagious? I believe so. The affected crew all helped load supplies at Gamma 7. Within hours, the number of sick crew members doubled. Jala worked frantically to identify the illness. It's a virus I haven't seen before, she told Zorlak in the crowded medical bay. It seems to affect all our species, but at different rates. The Moraxians are getting the sickest fastest. And Officer Martinez? Asked Zorlak, noticing the human wasn't among the patients. She shows no symptoms. In fact, I've tested her 3 times. The virus doesn't affect her at all. Zorlak found Elisa in the science lab, helping to analyze the virus. You're immune, he stated. Yes, Elisa nodded. Dr. Jala thinks it might be because human biology is so different from the other crew species. Our immune systems evolved on a planet with thousands of pathogens. Can your immunity help the others? Maybe. I've volunteered blood samples for testing. As more crew members fell ill, Elisa worked alongside the medical team. With half the crew in sickbay, those still healthy had to work double shifts. Elisa seemed to require little rest, working 18 hours straight before taking short breaks. Don't humans need more sleep? Asked Jala when Elisa returned to sickbay after only 4 hours off duty. We can push through when needed, Elisa replied, checking on patients. My grandfather was an emergency doctor. He once worked 36 hours during a natural disaster. Jala's eyes widened. That's not possible. For humans, it is. We call it running on adrenaline. On the 5th day of the outbreak, Jala made a breakthrough. Captain, she called Zorlak to sickbay. I've developed a treatment using compounds from Officer Martinez's blood. Her immune system produces proteins that neutralize the virus. Will it work for all crew members? Asked Zorlak. I believe so. I've modified it for each species' biology. Within 2 days, the sick crew began to recover. Zorlak found Elisa in the mess hall, finally resting after days of constant work. Officer Martinez, he said, sitting across from her. Dr. Jala says your blood saved the crew. Elisa looked up tiredly. Human biology has its advantages. Your people evolved on a dangerous planet, didn't they? Earth has its challenges, she agreed. Lots of diseases, predators, and natural disasters. We had to adapt. It made your species resilient, observed Zorlak, and apparently useful in situations like this. Is that a compliment, Captain? Elisa asked with a small smile. An observation, Zorlak replied, but his tone was less cold than usual. The crew is talking about you. They say humans carry hundreds of helpful medicines in their blood. That's an exaggeration. Elisa laughed softly. But we do have robust immune systems. Later, in his private log, Zorlak recorded, the humans' biological differences that once seemed concerning now appear beneficial. Their bodies are walking medical kits, evolved from surviving a world far more hostile than our home planets. This explains the Alliance's insistence on human crew members, especially for deep space missions where medical help is far away. Still concerning, but increasingly valuable. 2 weeks after the sabotage incident, the Celestial Voyager traveled through a quiet sector of space. Captain Zorlak had grudgingly noted that First Officer Elisa Martinez performed her duties well. The human was efficient, and the crew had begun to relax around her, though they still watched her with curious eyes when she ate strange foods or exercised in the ship's gym. "Captain, we're picking up a distress signal," said Communications Officer Vril, her antenna twitching. Zorlak straightened in his command chair. "Source: unknown vessel, approximately 2 light minutes away." The message is automated and repeating. "Set course to investigate," ordered Zorlak. "Standard approach. Shields at 30%. The * Celestial Voyager * changed direction, its powerful engines humming. As they neared the source of the signal, a small ship came into view on the main screen. It drifted without power, its hull dark except for blinking emergency lights. "No signs of life, Captain," reported Science Officer Drell. "The ship appears to be of Centauri design." Elisa frowned. "Centauri? We don't have diplomatic relations with them yet. They're still classified as potentially hostile." "Correct, Officer Martinez," said Zorlak. "But the Galactic Alliance protocols require us to respond to all distress signals." "I recommend caution, sir," said Elisa. "Something doesn't feel right." Zorlak's upper eyes narrowed. "Feel right? Is this another of your human intuitions?" Before Elisa could respond, the seemingly dead ship suddenly lit up. A beam of energy shot out, striking the * Celestial Voyager * directly. "Shields down," shouted Security Chief Morev. "Weapons systems not responding." The ship shuddered as a second blast hit them. Emergency lights flashed as main power failed. "It's a trap," Zorlak said, gripping his chair as the ship rocked. "The Centauri must have been waiting for any Alliance vessel to respond." The communications screen activated, showing a gray-skinned alien with 6 eyes arranged in a circle. "Galactic Alliance vessel, prepare to be boarded. Your technology will serve the Centauri Collective. Engaging emergency protocols," Pilax announced, fingers flying over his console. "But our defensive systems are offline." "They're using a dampening field," said Chief Engineer Mox. "It's disrupting our energy weapons." 3 more Centauri ships appeared from behind a nearby moon. The * Celestial Voyager * was surrounded. "Can we jump to faster than light?" asked Zorlak. "Engines are responding, but navigation is offline," replied Navigator Kip. "We'd be jumping blind." Elisa stood up from her station. "Captain, I need to get to Maintenance Bay 2. I have an idea." Zorlak hesitated, then nodded. "Go." As Elisa sprinted from the bridge, the Centauri leader spoke again. "Your ship will be ours in 10 minutes. Resistance is pointless. Stall them," Zorlak whispered to his communications officer. 5 tense minutes passed as the crew worked frantically to restore systems while Vril engaged the Centauri in meaningless diplomatic talk. Suddenly, Elisa's voice came through the internal comm system. "Captain, I've modified the garbage disposal unit to release our waste material with an electromagnetic pulse. When I give the signal, have everyone brace for impact." The crew exchanged confused looks. Morev leaned toward Zorlak. "Sir, what is she doing?" "I don't know," admitted Zorlak. "But we have few options." He activated the ship-wide announcement system. "All crew, brace for impact in 10 seconds." The * Celestial Voyager * shuddered as something launched from its underside. On the view screen, they watched as a cloud of debris, food waste, water, and trash, spread toward the Centauri ships. Then a bright flash erupted as the electromagnetic pulse activated. The Centauri ships went dark instantly. Their dampening field disappeared. "All systems returning to normal," reported Pilax, sounding stunned. "Weapons online," said Morev. "Get us out of here, maximum speed," ordered Zorlak. As the * Celestial Voyager * pulled away from the disabled Centauri ships, Elisa returned to the bridge, her uniform stained with various fluids. "How did you do that?" asked Zorlak. "I used the magnetic waste compactor to create a makeshift EMP bomb," she explained. "Their shields were designed to stop energy weapons, not garbage." The bridge fell silent as the crew stared at her. "That was creative," Zorlak finally said. "Terrifying," whispered Pelax. Elisa smiled slightly. "Humans are good at using whatever we have on hand. We call it improvising." Zorlak made a note in his personal log that night. "Human creativity in combat situations is unlike anything I've seen. Unpredictable, resourceful, and effective. Perhaps disturbing, but undeniably useful." Captain Zorlak stared at the official document on his screen with all four of his eyes. His upper lip curled back to reveal sharp blue teeth. This couldn't be happening. "Is there a problem, Captain?" asked his second-in-command, Officer Pelax. "They're sending us a human," Zorlak said. The words felt bitter in his mouth. The bridge of the Starship Celestial Voyager went quiet. The crew, a mix of Veldari like Zorlak, along with Moraxians and Trillfolk, exchanged worried glances. "It's the new Galactic Alliance rule," Zorlak continued. "Every deep space vessel must have at least one human crew member." He closed the message with a swipe of his long, three-fingered hand. "Our human arrives tomorrow." Pelax's skin flickered from green to yellow, a sign of distress among Veldari. "Humans are unpredictable, Captain. My cousin served with one on the Dawnbreaker said the human stayed awake for 3 days straight during a crisis. Just kept working while consuming bitter plant water. Didn't even need to enter hibernation. I heard they can regrow their limbs," whispered Trill Navigator Kip from her station. "That's not true," said Chief Engineer Mox, his metal implants gleaming under the bridge lights. "But they do heal from injuries that would kill most of us, and their bodies fight off diseases that would wipe out whole colonies." Zorlak raised a hand for silence. "Enough. Alliance Command believes humans bring useful qualities to a crew. We will adapt." The next day, Zorlak stood at the docking bay as the transport shuttle arrived. The doors opened, and out stepped a human woman of average height with brown skin, dark hair tied back neatly, and a standard Alliance uniform. "First Officer Elisa Martinez reporting for duty, Captain," she said with a smile, offering her hand. Zorlak looked at the extended hand with suspicion before briefly touching it with his own. Human customs were strange, but he had studied them. "Welcome aboard the Celestial Voyager Officer Martinez. I am Captain Zorlak. This is Officer Pelax, my second-in-command." Pelax nodded stiffly, keeping a safe distance. "Thank you, Captain. I've studied your ship's specs, and I'm excited to join your crew," said Elisa. "You will find your quarters on Deck 3. We depart in 6 hours. Officer Pelax will show you the bridge systems." Zorlak turned and walked away quickly, his long strides carrying him far from the human. Later, as Elisa reviewed the ship's systems with Pelax, she noticed something odd on the display. "These power readings from the engine core seem unusual," she said, pointing to fluctuating numbers. Pelax glanced at the screen. "Our systems run differently than human vessels. It's normal." Elisa frowned. "I've served on 12 different species ships, and I've never seen patterns like this. It looks like power is being diverted somewhere. Perhaps you should focus on learning your station before questioning our ship's operations," Pelax said coldly. Elisa nodded politely, but when Pelax left to attend to other duties, she continued investigating. She traced the power fluctuations to a hidden program in the navigation system. That evening, as the ship prepared for departure, Elisa approached the captain in his ready room. Zorlak's facial ridges stiffened at her entrance. "Officer Martinez, we haven't scheduled a meeting." "I apologize for the interruption, Captain, but I found something concerning." She handed him a datapad. "Someone has installed a program that's sending our flight path to an unknown receiver." Zorlak's eyes widened. "Are you certain?" "Yes, sir. The program is well hidden, but it's there. Someone doesn't want us to reach our destination." Zorlak studied the datapad, then tapped his communication device. "Security to my ready room, and find Officer Nex immediately." He looked at Elisa with a mixture of surprise and lingering suspicion. "How did you discover this when my own security team missed it?" "Humans are good at spotting patterns that don't belong," she said simply. "It's why I joined Starfleet." Zorlak nodded slowly. It seems the Alliance may have had good reasons for their new human crew requirement after all. As security officers entered, Zorlak straightened his uniform. "We may have a saboteur aboard. And thanks to our new human officer, we found them before we left port." Elisa stood quietly as the security team got to work. It was a small first step, but perhaps not all the crew would see her as just a terrifying human after this.